The cold silence of space wrapped around the drifting hulk like a shroud. Twisted metal jutted from its side where plasma fire had torn through. Wires hung like dead vines. No lights, no movement, just the slow spin of a dead ship caught in the quiet breath of the void. It looked helpless. It looked broken. It looked like easy prey. Across 2,000,000 kilometers, the bridge of the K-Wrath flagship Vorthkul erupted in laughter. Commander Vraxtor leaned back in his gravity throne, his armored mandibles curling into something close to a smile. On the main screen, the image of the human vessel floated, small, outdated, bearing the faded insignia of the United Sol Navy, a Corsair-class frigate, barely armed, barely shielded, the kind of ship used for border patrol or supply runs, not war. One of his officers spoke, voice thick with scorn. "They send one ship to guard this sector. This is not a defense, it is a joke." Another laughed. "Perhaps they knew we were coming. Perhaps they surrendered without fighting." Vrax did not laugh. He studied the data. No distress signal. No escape pods launched. No active comms. The ship had not fired a single shot. It had not tried to flee. It simply stopped. That troubled him. Humans were reckless, emotional. They fought to the last breath. They did not drift. They did not go quietly. But the moment passed. Pride swelled in his chest. The K-Wrath Dominion had crushed 3 species already. The Tsani, the Veln, the Orion Collective. Each had believed themselves strong. Each had fallen. And now humanity stood alone, fractured, isolated, clinging to their pale blue rock at the edge of known space. This broken frigate was proof of their weakness. He stood. "Target the wreck. Scramble fighters. I want every system scanned. If there is tech worth taking, we take it. If there is data, we crack it. And if there are survivors." He paused. "Bring them to me. I would hear the last words of a dying species." Across the void, the K-Wrath fleet moved. Cruisers flanked the wreck. Fighters darted in, scanning, probing. Explosions followed, not from the humans, but from the K-Wrath themselves, tearing open hull sections with precision charges. They found nothing. No weapons, no crew, just empty corridors, frozen bodies and shattered cabins, and old data drives corrupted beyond recovery. Back on the Vorthkul, Vrax slammed his fist on the console. "Nothing, they left nothing." His science officer bowed low. "The ship is a shell, Commander. No AI core, no black box, no weapons-grade tech. It is as if they wanted us to find it, and find nothing." Vrax felt the first sting of doubt, but he crushed it. "They are humans. They do not think like us. They act on emotion, fear, desperation. This was a mistake, a final act of defiance, nothing more." He gave the order. "Burn the wreck, then move to the next sector. Earth is only 3 jumps away." And as the K-Wrath fleet turned, their sensors blind to the truth, deep behind the shadow of a dead moon, where no starlight reached and no scan could penetrate, a single light blinked green. Inside the UN's aegis, the silence was absolute. Captain Elias Vance stood at the observation deck, his hands behind his back, his face unreadable. The screen before him showed the destruction of the Corsair frigate, his frigate, once the UN's Valiant, now just debris. He had watched every second, watched as the first plasma bolt ripped through the engine room, watched as the hull cracked open like an egg, watched as the last of the crew died in darkness. They had known. They had volunteered. Lieutenant Mara Reyes stood behind him, her fists clenched, her breath shallow. She had served with some of them, trained with them, laughed with them. Now, they were gone. And the man who had sent them to die did not even blink. "Why no reaction?" she asked, voice tight. "They were our people." Vance did not turn. "Because if I react, the mission fails. If I grieve now, more will die later. We honor them by winning." She stepped forward. The K-Wrath didn't even care. They tore the ship apart like animals. They didn't see the trap. They didn't see anything. A faint smile touched his lips. "Exactly." He turned and walked to the command pit. Around him, the crew of the Aegis sat in silence, eyes on their screens, hearts steady. This ship was not like the Valiant. It was not weak. It was not old. The Aegis was a dreadnought, but not one built for show. It was built for war, for stealth, for vengeance. Its hull was coated in quantum-absorbent plating. Its engines ran on folded space-time drives, leaving no trail. Its weapons were cold, dormant, waiting, and around it, hidden in the gravity shadows of dead stars, waited 30 more ships, the silent fleet, a force the galaxy did not know existed. The Valiant had not been a mistake. It had not been abandoned. It had been sent, a message, a lure, a single broken ship drifting in the dark, just enough to draw the K-Wrath in, just enough to make them overconfident. And it had worked. On the main holotable, the K-Wrath fleet's path lit up, moving deeper into the trap zone, into the Andrus-Kill ring, a region of unstable gravity wells, neutron storms, and cloaked mine fields, a graveyard for the unwary. Vance looked at the clock. 12 minutes until full entry. He opened the comms. All hands. This is the captain. The bait is taken. The trap is set. Remember the Valiant. Remember their names. And when we strike, make sure the galaxy never forgets what happens when they attack what looks like a lone human ship. Across the fleet, crews braced, weapons powered up, AI cores synchronized. The Aegis turned slowly in the dark, and for the first time, the K-Wrath would learn what humanity truly was, not weak, not broken, but waiting and ready to burn. The silence aboard the Un's Aegis was not empty. It was thick, heavy, full of breath held too long. Every eye on the command deck stayed locked on the main holoscreen, where the K-Wrath fleet glided deeper into the Andrus rift like predators stalking blind into a pit. Lined with blades, the Valiant was gone. Its wreckage scattered, its crew dead, and still, the weight of their sacrifice pressed down on the crew like gravity. Lieutenant Mara Reyes sat at her post, fingers gripping the edge of her console. Her knuckles were white. Her breath came slow and tight. She had known every face on that ship, trained with them at Luna Base, shared rations, shared fears, shared dreams of peace after the war. Now they were gone, not in battle, not in glory, but in silence, in darkness, blown apart by enemies who didn't even care enough to ask why the ship was alone. She looked at Captain Vance. He stood at the center of the deck, calm, still, like a statue carved from iron. No tremor in his hands, no shadow in his eyes, as if he had not just watched 50 souls die on his orders. How can he be so cold, she thought. But then she remembered his words from the briefing. We don't win wars with rage. We win them with silence, with timing, with truth the enemy never sees. The K-Wrath believed they had crushed a weak ship. They believed humanity was broken. They believed this sector was abandoned, and that belief would kill them. Mara closed her eyes. A memory flashed. Her brother, Kale, standing in his uniform, smiling before he boarded the Valiant. Don't worry, he had said. If it ends here, at least it means the real fleet is coming. She had laughed then, thought he was joking. He wasn't. Now she understood. The Valiant wasn't just a ship. It was a message, a lie wrapped in truth, a ghost meant to be found. And the K-Wrath had swallowed it whole. On the sensor ray, Lieutenant Joran tapped a sequence into his board. Captain, K-Wrath Scout. Drones are moving toward the wreckage. They're scanning for data trails, thermal echoes, anything. Vance nodded. Let them scan. But sir, Joran said, if they detect the quantum echo from the Valiant's last jump, they might trace it back to our blind spot near the moon. They won't, Vance said. Not with the grav shadow masking the trail. Not with the decoy signal still broadcasting from the derelict's core. They'll see what we want them to see. And it was true. The Valiant had not just drifted here by accident. It had jumped in, engines failing on purpose, broadcasting a fake distress call laced with false coordinates. Its final act had been to ignite a microsingularity charge in its core, not enough to destroy the ship, but enough to scramble sensors and mask its real origin point. The K-Wrath thought they were hunting a survivor. They were actually walking into a tomb. But the danger was real. One wrong move, one alert sent, one drone that got too close, and the entire plan would collapse. Mara leaned forward. Sir, we have the infiltrators inside their fleet. If they grow suspicious, we can use them to plant doubt, slow them down. Vance turned. Not yet. We don't burn that asset until we have to. The infiltrators were the last secret. Human agents, cyber-augmented, surgically altered, implanted into K-Wrath ranks years ago. Some had lived as K-Wrath for a decade, spoken their language, fought in their wars, and now, deep inside the enemy command ships, they waited, silent, patient, ready to whisper lies at the right moment. But Vance knew, once they moved, the K-Wrath would know they had been breached. The war would change. The galaxy would know humanity was not just surviving. It was hunting. On the screen, the K-Wrath fleet slowed. Their formation shifted. A command pulse flickered across their network. They're getting nervous, Joran said. Vance's eyes narrowed. Or smart. Then the alert came. Captain, one scout drone is breaking pattern. It's veering off, heading straight for the moon's far side. It's scanning in low frequency. Gravimetric sweep. Mara's heart jumped. That area was where the Aegis and 3 other stealth frigates were hidden, riding the edge of the moon's gravity well. If the drone got close enough, it might detect the space-time distortion from their folded engines. Can we disable it? She asked. Not without revealing ourselves, Vance said. We don't fire. We don't move. We wait. The crew held their breath. The drone drifted closer. 10,000 clicks, then 5, then 3. Its sensors pulsed, sending data back to the flagship. Then nothing. The signal died. On the K-Wrath bridge, Vraxtor snarled. What happened? Unknown. Commander, the drone went dark. No distress, no damage, just a gone. He stared at the screen. The moon was dead. No atmosphere, no life, no defenses. Yet something had taken his drone. He felt it again. That cold whisper in his gut. Something was wrong. But pride crushed the fear. It was a malfunction. Continue the sweep. We leave in 1 hour. Back on the Aegis, Mar exhaled. Did we destroy it? Vance shook his head. No. The moon has a magnetic storm layer. We predicted it. Timed the drone's path. It flew into a natural pulse burst. Wiped clean. Luck is with us. She looked at him. Luck or planning. A faint look crossed his face. Almost like pride. Same thing. When you plan enough. Then the moment passed. The K-Wrath fleet began to move again. Not toward Earth, not away, but deeper into the rift. Toward the coordinates of the fake colony signal the Valiant had broadcast. Before it died, they're taking the bait. Jorn whispered. Vance stepped forward. Phase 2 begins. He tapped the command board. Across the dark space, hidden relays activated. A new signal pulsed out. Weak, desperate, human. A colony under attack. Children crying. A governor begging for help. Please, anyone. The K-Wrath are coming. Then static. The K-Wrath intercepted it instantly. On the Vorthkul. Vrax smiled. A hidden world. Weak, unprotected, rich with resources. We take it. Then we take Earth. He gave the order. The fleet turned, and as they moved, the Aegis and the silent fleet followed, not with speed, not with fire, but with silence. The trap was not just set. It was closing. The K-Wrath fleet moved like a beast stretching its claws across the black. 30 warships strong, their jagged hulls glowing with sickly violet energy shields. They cut through the Andorus rift with the arrogance of conquerors who had never known defeat. Behind them, the wreckage of the Un's Valiant spun slowly into darkness, forgotten. Before them, the false signal pulsed, a cry for help from a human colony that did not exist, a world called Alira 9, a lie written in code and sorrow. But the lie was perfect. It carried real voices, real fear, children weeping, a woman begging for her son, a governor broadcasting in broken English, his voice shaking as he described K-Wrath drop ships tearing through the city. All of it pulled from real archives, from real tragedies, from the fall of Mars Colony and the burning of New Hong Kong. The humans had not invented pain. They had weaponized memory, and the K-Wrath believed it. Commander Vraxtor stood on the bridge of the Vorthkul, his scaled hands gripping the edge of the command console. His mind raced with visions of glory, a hidden human world, unprotected, rich with biosignatures, perfect for assimilation. He would be the one to deliver it. His name would echo in the halls of Dominion. His bloodline would rise. He did not question why the signal was so clear, why it came from deep within a dead zone, why no military escort guarded it. He did not see the truth, because the truth was invisible. Behind the shattered ring of a dead gas giant, where storms of ionized, dust-blinded sensors, the Un's Aegis floated like a shadow given form. Around it, the rest of the silent fleet held position. 6 Spartan-class destroyers, 2 Valkyria stealth carriers, and a swarm of drone fighters waiting in hibernation mode. Not one light burned, not one engine pulsed. They were ghosts, and they were hungry. Inside the Aegis, Captain Elias Vance sat in the war room, eyes closed, listening. The signal had been received. The K-Wrath were turning. Their fleet formation shifted from combat patrol to rapid assault. They were accelerating. They were eager. Perfect. He opened his eyes and looked at Mara Reyes. She sat at the tactical station, her face pale, her fingers moving across the holoboard with quiet precision. She had not slept, not since the Valiant died. But she did not complain. She carried the weight like armor. They're moving faster than expected, she said. They'll hit the gravity well in 22 minutes, Vance nodded. Then, we move now. He stood and walked to the central comms hub. All units, this is Vance. Phase 3 is active. Initiate shadow drift. Maintain 0 emissions. I want us inside their blind arc before they feel the pull. Across the fleet. Silent engines ignited in vacuum. Their thrust dampened by quantum diffusers. The ships began to move, not in a straight line, but along curved paths, riding the edges of gravitational distortions, using the dead planet's pull to slingshot forward without burning fuel. It was a maneuver only human navi could calculate, too complex, too precise. The K-Wrath relied on brute force, humans relied on genius, and it showed. On the Vorath Cool, Vrax felt the first tremor. A warning flashed on his console. Gravitational anomaly ahead, unstable field. He frowned. Scan the sector. What is it? His science officer checked the data. Dead zone. No stars, no planets, just dust and radiation. The anomaly is natural, a remnant of a collapsed star. Vrax hesitated. Something in his blood whispered danger, but the signal from Alira 9 grew stronger, more desperate. He could almost hear the screams. We go through, he ordered. Speed remains constant. Shields to maximum. The fleet pressed on. But deep in the core of the lead K-Wrath cruiser, hidden inside a maintenance conduit, a small device blinked once. Red dot. It was a human cyber node, planted months ago by a deep cover agent who had died in the line of duty. Its sole purpose was to listen, to wait, and when the K-Wrath entered the designated coordinates, to send one message. It did. The signal jumped through subspace, landing in the hands of Lieutenant Jorn on the Aegis. Sir. Infiltrator pulse received. They're carrying the virus. Vance did not smile. He did not cheer. He simply said, then they're already blind. The virus was not a weapon, it was a ghost. A tiny piece of human code embedded in the wreckage of the Valiant. When the K-Wrath scanned the ship, their systems absorbed it like a disease. It did nothing at first, just slept, waited, until now. And now, as the fleet entered the gravity well, the virus activated. It did not destroy. It did not scream. It simply twisted the truth. Sensors began to lie. Distance readings shifted. Time delays crept into comms. Navigation systems showed false clear paths. The anomaly was not ahead. It was everywhere. But the K-Wrath did not know. Their screens told them all was well. Only Vrax felt it. He looked at his hands. They seemed to flicker, a trick of the light. Or his mind. Commander, said his second. The fleet is reporting minor system glitches. Nothing critical. Nothing critical, Vrax snapped. Glitches are the first sign of decay, of weakness, of death. He turned to the main screen. The path ahead looked clear, open, safe, but his gut said otherwise. Then the first ship vanished. One moment it was there, a heavy cruiser, flanking the formation. The next, a flash of light, a scream over the comms, and nothing, just silence, no debris, no explosion, just gone. Then another, and another. Ships began to drift off course, slamming into invisible forces. Their hulls crushed by gravity shears they could not see. Panic spread. What is happening? Vrax roared. We do not know. The sensors show nothing. He slammed his fist down. Then trust your eyes. Pull back. Full retreat. But it was too late. The gravity well had them. And deep in the dark, the Aegis emerged from the storm. Vance stood tall, all weapons, prepared to engage. The trap was not just closing. It was snapping shut. The storm broke in silence. No sirens, no shouts, just the cold, precise motion of war machines awakening from shadow, across the void. The silent fleet emerged from the gravity distortion like wraiths rising from the deep. One moment there was nothing, the next, the stars themselves seemed to twist as human warships decloaked, sleek, angular, bristling with weapons the K-Wrath had no name for. The N's Aegis led them, its railstorm cannons charging with a low hum that vibrated through the hull. On the bridge, Captain Elias Vance stood motionless, eyes locked on the main screen. The K-Wrath fleet was in chaos, ships drifting, colliding, vanishing into unseen gravity spikes. Their sensors still blind, their commanders screaming orders. Into dead comms. This was not a battle. This was judgment. All units, Vance said. Voice calm. Engage at will. Target command vessels. Disable shields. Burn. Engines. No mercy. No hesitation. This ends now. The first volley lit up the dark. Railstorm rounds, tungsten slugs fired at half the speed of light, tore through the lead K-Wrath cruiser before it could react. No explosion. No flash, just a hole punched clean through the ship's core, melting circuits, vaporizing crew, collapsing the fusion reactor from within. The vessel died in seconds, a tomb spinning into the void. Then the carriers opened. From the Valkyria-class stealth ships, swarms of drone fighters launched, small, fast, autonomous. They moved like a storm of wasps, diving into the K-Wrath formation, latching onto hulls, planting plasma charges, one by one. K-Wrath ships erupted from the inside, their shields useless against attacks that came from within their own blind spots. Lieutenant Mara Reyes watched the chaos unfold, her hands steady on the targeting array. She did not feel joy, she did not feel hate, she felt purpose. Every ship that died was one that had destroyed human worlds, one that had burned cities, one that had killed her brother. She locked onto the Vorthkul, the flagship, the heart of the beast. Captain, she said, I have a firing solution. One shot. If we take out their command nexus, the rest will collapse. Vance studied the data. Too risky. Their bridge is shielded by layered armor. One shot won't be enough. We need to weaken them first. Then the unexpected happened. The Vorthkul turned, not to flee. To fight. Commander Vraxtor stood in the center of his bridge, his body bruised, his blood boiling. Around him, his fleet was dying, his officers were dead, his comms were failing. But he was not broken. He had spent his life crushing weaker species. He had watched them beg, watched them run, watched them die. But this was different. This was not chaos. This was planning. This was revenge. And he would not die like a coward. All remaining ships, he roared, form around the Vorthkul. We fight, we burn, but we do not run. And to the shock of every human on the Aegis, the surviving K-Wrath vessels obeyed. They regrouped, not in order, not with precision, but with fury. They slammed into formation, shields overlapping, weapons blazing. Plasma fire streaked across space, missing by kilometers. Their targeting system still corrupted, but the intent was clear. They would not surrender. They would not flee. They would die fighting. Mara stared at the screen. They're insane. They know they're beaten. Why keep fighting? Vance's voice was low. Because they're soldiers, not monsters. They follow their commander, just like we would. For a moment, something like respect flickered in his eyes. Then, he crushed it, launched the storm drones, full spread. Target their engine clusters. I want them dead in the water. From the belly of the Aegis, a new wave of weapons deployed. Not drones, but microswarms of explosive bots, each no larger than a human hand. They moved in perfect sync, riding magnetic currents, slipping past failing shields, embedding themselves in engine vents and power conduits. Then they detonated, one after another. K-Wrath ships lost thrust, their movements slowed, their weapons dimmed. The Vorthkul itself shuddered as half its engines went dark. Vrax fell to one knee. Sparks rained from the ceiling. The air stank of burning flesh, but he stood. Bring us into ramming speed, he ordered. We take one of theirs with us. The Vorthkul turned, its massive hull charging straight toward the nearest human carrier. The Un's Icarus, too close to dodge, too fast to escape. On the Aegis, alarms blared. Captain Joran shouted. The Icarus can't move in time. Vance didn't hesitate. Bring us between them. Shields forward. All power to frontal barrier. The Aegis surged ahead, its quantum shields flaring blue as it positioned itself between the charging K-Wrath flagship and the helpless carrier. The impact was silent, but the force shook both ships to their cores. Metal screamed, lights died, crews were thrown across the deck. The Aegis held, just barely. Its shields flickered but held. The Vorthkul, already damaged, crumpled like paper against the human dreadnought's armored prow. Inside the K-Wrath bridge, Vrax was thrown against the wall. Blood poured from his mouth, his vision blurred. But he laughed. So this is how it ends, not to a god, not to a monster, but to a man who planned better. He reached for the self-destruct, but the charge never came, because deep inside his ship, the human virus completed its final task. It locked the core. It severed the command. It silenced the fire. On the Aegis, Mara exhaled. The reactor is stable, no overload. They're powerless. Vance looked at the broken flagship drifting in front of them. Then it's over. But he did not feel victory. He felt weight. The cost, the lives, the silence after the storm. And somewhere in the dark, the galaxy began to whisper. Humanity had not just won. It had taught a lesson, and no empire would ever underestimate them again. The battlefield hung in silence, a graveyard of twisted metal and frozen bodies. No alarms, no fire, no movement, just the slow drift of shattered warships caught in the invisible pull of dead stars. The K-Wrath fleet was gone. Not all destroyed, not all defeated in flame, but broken, powerless. Their weapons dead, their engines cold, their pride crushed beneath the shadow of the UNS Aegis. But victory did not taste sweet. Inside the human dreadnought, the air was thick with exhaustion and grief. The Aegis had taken damage. Hull breaches on decks 7 and 9. Life support failing in the aft sections. One reactor offline. The ramming impact with the Vorthkul had nearly torn the ship apart. And the cost was not just metal and fuel. It was lives. In the med bay, Lieutenant Mara Reyes knelt beside a broken cryopod. Inside, the face of Lieutenant Cale Renner was pale, his breath shallow, not her brother, but the man who had saved her brother's name. The man who had pulled 3 wounded engineers from a collapsing corridor before a plasma line exploded. The last thing he had said was tell Mara the Valiant didn't die alone. Now he was dying. She held his hand, silent, her eyes dry. Tears had come and gone. Now there was only the weight of memory. Captain Elias Vance walked through the ship. Like a ghost, he did not go to the command deck, not yet. He moved through the corridors, past repair crews welding broken bulkheads, past medics carrying the wounded, past soldiers staring at the walls with hollow eyes. He stopped at the memorial wall, a simple steel plate with names etched in fire: Valiant, Icarus, Renner, Voss, Dane. 53 so far, and more would be added. He did not speak. He placed a single dog tag on the ledge below the wall. Cale Renner's. Then he turned and walked to the bridge. The moment he stepped in, every officer stood. He raised a hand. Sit. We are not done. On the main screen, the surviving K-Wrath ships floated, dark and lifeless. Only 3 remained intact enough to hold crew. The rest were husks, tombs, and among them, the Vorthkul. Its command tower cracked, its engines dead, its weapons silenced. But inside, life signs remained, dozens, maybe hundreds. Joran turned from his console. Captain, we're receiving a signal, not from their fleet, from inside the flagship. It's to surrender request. Vance did not react. In their language, yes, but the message is clear. Their commander is alive. He asks to speak to the one who led this attack. A murmur ran through the bridge. Mara looked up. You're not going to answer him. Vance sat in his chair. No, not yet. Why not? It's over. We won. Did we? He asked, his voice low. We broke their fleet, but we didn't break their will. Vraxtor didn't ask to surrender. He asked to speak. That means he still believes he has power, still believes he can negotiate, still believes he is equal. He turned to her. This war isn't just about ships and weapons. It's about what the galaxy thinks of us. If we let him speak as an equal, then we are just another empire, another conqueror. But if we make them understand, then they will never come again. Mara frowned. So what do we do? Vance stood. We show them mercy, and in that mercy, we show them fear. He opened the comms. All hands. This is the captain. We are not executioners. We are not monsters. We are humanity, and we do not leave the wounded to die, even our enemies. Launch rescue drones. Send med teams. Stabilize the survivors. Bring their commander to the Aegis under guard. But make one thing clear. They are not guests. They are prisoners, and they will see exactly what they fought across the fleet. Drones launched. Human medics in sealed suits moved into the wreckage. They cut through K-Wrath hulls. They pulled out the living. They treated burns. They stopped bleeding. They saved lives. And on the Vorthkul, Commander Vraxtor sat in the dark, his body broken, his empire in ruins. When the human team entered, weapons ready, he did not resist. He looked up, his eyes burning with hate. You let us see only what you wanted us to see. He spat. That ship, that signal, that trap. All lies. The lead medic, a woman with a scar across her cheek, looked at him. No, the pain was real. The loss was real. The sacrifice was real. We don't lie about that. We just make sure our enemies feel it too. They took him aboard the Aegis, and Vance met him face to face. No weapons, no guards in the room. Just 2 commanders, one standing, one broken. You could have killed me, Vrax said. I could have, Vance replied. But death is easy. Living with defeat is harder. You think this changes anything? Another fleet will come. Another commander. You cannot kill us all. No, Vance said. But we only need to break you once. The galaxy is watching. And when they see that the K-Wrath attacked a lone human ship and vanished, they will think twice before they come for us. Vrax laughed, then coughed. Blood, you are not strong. You are cunning. There is a difference, maybe, Vance said. But in the end, it was your strength that failed. Ours held. He turned to the door. Take him to medical. Keep him alive. The war isn't over. But today, we made sure it ends on our terms. As Vrax was led away, Vance looked at the stars. The battle was won. But the war for respect had just begun, and somewhere beyond the rim, other empires were watching, and for the first time, they were afraid. The stars did not blink. The void did not speak. But across the silent reaches of the galaxy, something had shifted. Not in the movement of planets or the birth of suns, but in the quiet understanding that now passed from world to world, empire to empire, throne to throne. The Karath Dominion had vanished into the Andorus Rift with 30 warships and never returned. No distress call, no record scattered across known space, no final broadcast, just silence. And then, a signal, not from the K single quotes Wrath. From Earth, a single message, broadcast on all open frequencies, in every known language, encrypted and unencrypted, sent through relay stations, deep space buoys, and stolen alien comms networks. It was not a boast, not a threat, just a recording. 50-8 seconds long. It began with the final transmission of the UN's Valiant, the fake distress call the K-Wrath had intercepted, the trembling voice of a human governor begging for help, the sound of explosions, children crying. Then it cut. Silence. Then a new voice, calm, cold, certain. They attacked what looked like a lone human starship. A pause. It was just the one we let them see. Then, without warning, the full sensor log of the battle played, not from the K-Wrath perspective, but from the human fleet. The decloaking of the silent fleet, the precision strikes, the collapse of the K-Wrath formation, the final moments of the Vorith Kul as it charged blindly into the Aegis, the surrender, the rescue of enemy survivors, the face of Commander Firax Tor, broken but alive, being taken aboard a human vessel. The message ended with a single line. We do not hunt, we do not conquer, but if you come for us, we will remember. No music, no effects, no flag waving. Just truth. And across the galaxy, empires listened. On the crystalline spires of the Veln Concord, leaders silenced their courts. On the molten forges of the Tlan Hive, war engines powered down. On the floating cities of Proxima B, human refugees wept not from fear, but from pride. They had not run, they had not begged, they had not fallen, they had answered. Inside the UN's Aegis, Captain Elias Vance stood at the observation deck, watching the stars as the fleet began its slow return to human space. The ship was still damaged, the crew still tired, the dead still gone, but something had changed, not in the mission, not in the orders, but in the air, in the way the soldiers walked, in the way they looked at each other. They were no longer just survivors, they were proof. Lieutenant Mara Reyes entered the deck, her uniform patched, her face no longer heavy with grief, but with purpose. The message was sent, she said. Every major species has received it, even the neutral colonies, even the pirate clans. They all know now. Vance did not turn. Good. Do you think it will stop them? No, he said. But it will make them hesitate, and hesitation wins more battles than firepower. She stepped beside him. Firax Tor asked to see you again. Vance finally looked at her. Why? He said he wants to understand how we planned it, how we waited, how we were willing to let our own die just to win. Vance exhaled. Then bring him here. But not because he wants answers. Because we need him to carry them back, later, in a secured chamber. Vrax sat in a restraint chair. His body healed. His pride not. His eyes burned with fury. But also, something else. Something close to respect. You let us win the first battle, he said. You gave us a victory. A broken ship, easy prey. You knew we would grow overconfident. Vance nodded. Arrogance is the weakest armor. And the virus, the gravity trap, the fake colony? All real, Vance said. The fear in that signal, real voices from real attacks. We did not invent pain. We used it, because you, Karath, understand only force and fear. So we spoke your language. Vrax leaned forward. But why save us? Why not kill us all? Because we are not like you, Vance said. We fight to protect, not to dominate. We showed you mercy, so you would tell the truth. Not that we are cruel, but that we are strong enough to be kind, and still unbeaten. Silence stretched. Then Vrax laughed, a deep, broken sound. You are not what I thought. No, Vance said. We are what you should have feared from the beginning. When Vrax was taken back to the medical wing, Mara watched him go. Do you think he'll tell the truth? Yes, Vance said. Because if he lies and another fleet comes, they will die too, and he will be blamed. So he will tell the truth, and the truth will keep us safe. Days passed. The fleet moved deeper into human space. News followed them like a shadow. Other human colonies sent signals of support. Ships joined the formation. Not just military. Civilian vessels, freighters, even old war relics pulled from dry docks. They flew with a new symbol now, a phoenix rising from a shattered ship, burning, not with fire, but with light. And when the Aegis finally reached Earth orbit, There were no parades, no speeches, no medals, just a long silence as the ship hung above the blue world, scarred but standing. Vance stood at the window, looking down. The war was not over, but the galaxy now knew. Attack one human ship, you were already seen, and the rest were waiting. The sky above Earth was clear, no smoke, no fire, no alien warships burning in the atmosphere, just the soft blue curve of the planet, turning slowly beneath the stars. The UN's Aegis hung in high orbit like a silent guardian, its hull scarred, its weapons cold, its mission complete. Round it, the remnants of the silent fleet formed a ring of steel and shadow, not in threat, but in WATCHFULNESS. Down below, life went on. Children played in the parks of New Geneva. Farmers tilled the soil on Mars Colony. Engineers rebuilt the damaged stations near Titan. No one danced in the streets, no one shouted victory. The people of Earth had learned long ago that peace was not a celebration. It was a breath held between storms, but this time, the storm had not come, and they knew why. In schools, teachers spoke of the Valiant, not as a lost ship, but as a spark. They showed the faces of the crew, told their names, played the final message not as a cry for help, but as a lure that broke an empire. Students listened in silence. Some cried, some stood taller. All remembered. In military academies, the Battle of Andorus Rift was taught in detail, not just the tactics, not just the technology, but the patience, the sacrifice, the cold truth that victory does not come from rage, but from planning, from discipline, from the courage to let your own burn so the rest may live. And across the colonies, a new symbol appeared, not on flags, not on uniforms, but on walls, on ships, on the sleeves of workers and soldiers alike. A phoenix rising from the wreckage of a starship. No flames, no smoke, just light, bright, unbroken, rising. It was not an emblem of war. It was a warning. Captain Elias Vance stood on the observation deck of the Aegis, his hands behind his back, his eyes on the planet below. He had not slept in 2 days, not since the final report had been filed, not since the last of the K-Wrath prisoners had been transferred to the neutral zone for return. He had not spoken to the press, had not taken command of the new fleet forming around him. He had simply remained on the ship, with the crew, with the memory. Lieutenant Mara Reyes found him there. They're calling it the Andorus Deception, she said. History books are already being rewritten. Some say it was luck, some say it was fate. Vance did not turn. It was neither. Then what was it? It was choice, he said. We chose to fight smarter. We chose to wait. We chose to let the Valiant die so the rest could live. That's not luck. That's will. She stepped beside him. Faraxtor sent a message before they took him away. He said he would tell his people the truth. That we are not weak. That we are not prey. That we are the ones who do not break. Vance nodded. Good. Let them tell it. Let every empire hear it. Let them know, if they come for us, they will not face one ship. They will face the ones who were waiting behind it. Silence settled between them. Not empty, not heavy, but full. Like the quiet after a storm has passed and the world begins to breathe again. Then Mara spoke, her voice low. Do you think it will last? This peace? No, Vance said. Peace never lasts. There will be others, new empires, old enemies. Someone will always believe they can take what is not theirs. Someone will always underestimate us. He turned to her. But let them come. Let them see one ship drifting in the dark. Let them think it is weak. Let them think it is alone. A faint look crossed his face, not a smile, but something deeper. Because every time they do, we will be waiting. Far below, on the surface of Earth, a young girl stood on a hill outside Cape Town. She wore a school uniform, her hair tied back, a datapad in her hand. On the screen, the final message from the Aegis played. The one sent to all of humanity. We do not hunt, we do not conquer, but if you come for us, we will remember. She looked up at the sky. At the stars. At the silent ships watching over them, and she whispered, I will be ready. In orbit, the Aegis turned slowly. Its weapons remained cold, its crew remained vigilant, and across the endless dark, the galaxy now knew the truth. Humanity was not loud. It was not cruel. It was not endless in number. But it was endless in will. They had attacked what looked like a lone human starship. They did not see the fleet behind it. They did not see the plan. They did not see the fire in the eyes of those who would not fall. And now they would never forget. The silence was no longer empty. It was full of warning. And somewhere in the deep, another ship waited. Another trap was set. Another lesson ready to be taught. Because the first rule of war was this: never mistake stillness for weakness, never mistake peace for fear, and never attack a human ship without knowing how many were watching from the dark. The stars burned cold and distant as the UNS Aegis slipped further into the quiet rim of human space. No fanfare followed its path, no fleet saluted its passage. It moved alone, scarred and silent, like a hunter returning to the edge of the forest after the kill. But it was not resting. It was waiting. Below, on Earth, life grew stronger. Cities rebuilt not with fear, but with purpose. Shipyards worked day and night, not to prepare for war, but to ensure peace would never again be fragile. Children learned not just how to survive, but how to think, how to plan, how to stand when the galaxy looked away. The story of the valiant was no longer a tragedy, it was a promise. We do not run, we do not beg. We remember. And across the void, the message had spread, not through war drums or conquest, but through silence, through truth, through the unshakable calm of a species that had stared into the dark and smiled. On a distant relay station near the edge of the Orion Belt, a sensor blinked. Anomaly detected. 1. Ship unknown origin. Drifting. No signal. No escort. No weapons fired. It looked weak. It looked alone. It looked like easy prey. Inside the station, a young human operator stared at the screen. Her name was Lyricess. She was 23. She had never seen battle, but she had studied Andorus. She had memorized every move, every second, every lie that became truth. Her hand hovered over the comms. She did not panic. She did not alert the colonies. She simply opened a secure channel and sent one line to Fleet Command. Target acquired. Pattern matches Andorus deception. Suspect bait. Then, she leaned back and smiled, because she knew the rules now. If a ship looked too weak, it was not weak. If it looked too alone, it was never alone. Somewhere in the dark, the real fleet was already moving somewhere. A captain was giving the order. Somewhere, a trap was opening, and somewhere, another empire was about to learn what it meant to attack humanity. Not the ship they saw, but the ones they never did. The silence stretched. No weapons fired. No ships decloaked. But, the moment the unknown vessel changed course, turning deeper into human space, drawn by a fake distress call. Just like before, the hunt began. Not with rage, not with noise, but with patience, with memory, with fire behind the eyes. Because humanity had learned the most dangerous lesson of all. Victory does not come from strength alone. It comes from letting your enemy believe they have already won. And then showing them how wrong they were. The Aegis turned in the dark, its engines lit with no sound, its crew stood ready, its name whispered across the stars, and across the galaxy. Those who watched learned to fear not the fleet but the silence before it came. Because the next time an empire sees a lone human ship drifting in the void, they should turn. They should run, they should pray, because it was never just one. It was never just weak. It was always the beginning of the end. The end.